gentle sound vibrations. This is very helpful. So good. Well done. Lucky you. All right. Great. So, who'd like to, Prashant Prabhu, would you like to read the translation of this, please?
Yes, Prabhuji, yes. Hare Krishna. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizing, studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Yes, such a very powerful verse, actually. Nice. Okay, so any questions from last time anybody wants to raise?
So last time, Prabhu, we were reading, let me go there first. So we have chapter 1. Yes, so this page number 5. Yeah, so we have done these things. So
Okay.
I think we didn't touch the Ajamil part last time, because last time actually I had gone to parent-teacher meeting of my daughter actually. So I'm not sure where exactly we stopped. Did we touch this part, the Ajamil story, or did we stop?
No, Prabhuji. Not Prabhuji. Let me open. Okay, I marked that one.
Okay, sure.
Okay, good.
But I know we did not touch that paragraph. Yes, I remember. But
so I think we had done till this one then, yeah.
Yes.
Lying as a seed means all these things.
Yes, kutam, the seed.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So
let's
we'll start from here then.
Okay, so Sachin Prabhu, would you like to read for us, please? Or
Okay.
Gaurangi, whichever of you prefers.
Okay. Yeah, from here. In this
connection, Sukdev Goswami speaks in the sixth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, second chapter, 17th words, about the story of Ajamil, who began his life as a fine, dutiful Brahman, but in his young manhood became wholly corrupted by a pursuit. At the end of his wicked life, despite calling the name of Narayan, Krishna, he saved despite so much sin. Sukdev points out that austerity, charity, and performance in ritualistic ceremonies for counteracting sinful activities are recommended in process, but that by performing them one cannot remove sinful desire seed can be removed by only achieving Krishna.
No, you missed a line.
No, yeah,
one cannot remove the sinful desire seed
from the heart.
From the heart, as was the case with Jamil in his youth. The sinful desire seed can be removed by achieving Krishna consciousness, and that can be accomplished very easily by chanting the names of Mahamantra or Hare Krishna mantra, as recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In other words, unless one adopts the path of devotional service, he cannot be 100% clean from all the reaction of sinful activities.
Okay, good.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, one important point. This sinful desire seed can be removed only by achieving Krishna consciousness. And Hare Krishna Narayan, Hari Bol. Good to see you, Prabhu. Jai, Hari Bol. So, questions on this? Comments, thoughts? So we talked about the seed within the heart, which is coming as a result of previous sinful activities, and because those sinful activities produce the fruit in terms of the happiness and distress from those activities, and within each of the fruits there are more seeds, and those seeds remain within the heart because by our association and our experiences in this world, as Krishna points out in Bhagavad Gita, Karanam Guna Sangasya Sadasad Yoni Janmasu, by associating with the three modes of nature, then one is entangled in all sorts of activities, and these activities then give rise to the seeds or the desires for performing more activities. And so how to get rid of these seeds so that we don't generate again more sinful activities. So this is the process, this chanting of the Maha Mantra or Hare Krishna, as recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The sinful desire seed can be removed by achieving consciousness of Krishna, actually, because Krishna is apapa vidham. He is completely transcendental and pure, and just like the sun is so powerful that any amount of impure things, just supposing there is some animal has passed stool or urine on the pavement outside, the sun is so powerful that it can purify all that without being affected himself. And in the same way, Krishna's presence within the heart is so powerful. When our consciousness becomes clearly fixed on Krishna, then in that way, these sinful desire seeds can actually be destroyed. There are two processes to destroy the seeds. Who can say what these two processes are? If you have a seed, how do you stop it from fructifying? Anyone like to say?
I mean, first is not to let it grow, which is like not to sow it and then let it grow, and second is just to destroy it.
Okay, so how to destroy it? Because the seeds are there and they're in the heart and they're in that atmosphere, they're going to grow. So there are two methods. One thing is you can drown the seed so that it can't actually fructify. And another method is to fry the seed so that it can't fructify. So when the seeds of those desires become fried in the burning fire of Krishna consciousness, those seeds actually become fried and they're no longer able to germinate. And similarly, when they're flooded with the ocean of love of Krishna, then there's no possibility of those seeds being able to germinate and produce more sinful activities and sinful reactions. So, what do you think? Is it a good idea?
Yeah, it's very powerful. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So you're all familiar with the story of Ajamil? Because Ajamil, he was a very dutiful young Brahmin, but he saw a Sudra embracing a prostitute on the street, and his mind became corrupted. Because obviously we can understand from that such things were unknown at that time, that unrestricted association between men and women was not possible. Nowadays, everywhere you go, you can't help but see it. Is it not? And in those days when he was a nice young man as a brahmachari and developing in his spiritual life, it was a shock for him to see such goings on. And his mind became captivated by that prostitute. And he wound up taking that prostitute into his house as a maidservant because he was so attracted to her. And he became so infatuated with her that actually he kicked his wife out of the house and kept the maidservant as the prostitute as his partner in life. And he had many children from that prostitute. And he, in order to maintain her and his family, he had to engage in so much illicit activity. He was stealing and doing so many things and cheating in order to raise the funds to maintain his large growing family. And even in his advanced years, he was still producing children. When it was way past the time to get out of family life and retire. And he had a very young son called Narayan, because somehow or other, from his early days, he remembered that name, and he gave his youngest son, who was just a very young boy, the name Narayan. So Narayan, he would always be calling him, Narayan, come here, Narayan, bring this, Narayan, let me sit on my lap, I want to talk to you. And so many things he was always calling without any remembrance of his previous spiritual life. He was always remembering his young son. And as such, when it was time for him to leave his body, the Yamadutas, the constables of Yamaraj, came to get him. And they were actually in the process of dragging him out of his body to take him to Yamaraj. He was being taken in his subtle body to go and have an interview, if you like, with Yamaraj. But he called out in great anxiety, Narayan, calling out his son. And because he'd called out offenselessly the name Narayan, immediately the Vishnu Dutas came. The Lord immediately sent his Vishnu Dutas, and they very strongly, with their weapons raised, said, stop, you cannot take him. And he forbade the Yamadutas from proceeding and taking him out of his body. And this was a very great shock. And the Yamadutas and the Vishnu Dutas, they had a very interesting conversation, which is mentioned very nicely in great detail in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's also there, if you ever had the chance to read it, in this nice book, A Second Chance. Because this book, A Second Chance, is not only the verses and purports of that chapter from those chapters from the Srimad Bhagavatam, but it's also comprising Prabhupada's lectures on those. So it's a very, very interesting book to read if you get a chance to read it. Because literally it's called A Second Chance because Ajamil, he got a second chance to carry on his spiritual life. That's it. That's the one. Very powerful book. Thank you, Rupesh Prabhu. So actually, we've all developed so much in our lives. And by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we're all getting a second chance to actually make some spiritual progress in our lives. So anyway, what can I say? But this process of becoming conscious of Krishna by chanting his holy name and hearing about him, it actually purifies the heart. And particularly when we talk of purification, we're actually talk also about purifying ourselves of our misconceptions. Because, for example, we have even the basic one, we misconceive this body to be ourselves. And actually, as we revive our Krishna consciousness, we become aware that we're not these bodies, and become practically aware and understand that actually, yes, Krishna, I'm your eternal servant, and try to be engaged in devotional service to Krishna, knowing that we're eternally spirit souls, servants of Krishna, even though we may look in the mirror and see who's that ugly creature staring back at me. And we can understand, well, wait a minute, this so-called I didn't always look like that. this so-called I has changed in so many ways, and look at the state of him now. And what is it going? What is this so-called I going to look like in some years from now, as he gets old and wrinkled, and the teeth are falling out, and just really getting to be a dead body? So we can understand when we look in the mirror that actually this is not just me, this is actually just the covering of me. But actually inside, I'm Krishna's eternal servant. So these are all useful things for understanding, I hope. And so this is the process. So this is mentioned by Shukadeva Goswami. He's mentioning that austerity, charity, and the performance of ritualistic ceremonies for counteracting sinful activities are recommended processes. But that when we perform those atonements, then they don't actually remove the sinful desire seed from the heart. And we saw that that was the case with Ajamil. He performed these ritual activities, which are meant for cleansing oneself, but the whole point of cleansing oneself is so that ultimately one can be engaged in the loving service of Krishna. Not simply to be elevated to a higher status of material life by getting free of our impious activities. So that's the process of evolving through the different species of life and going up to the higher planets. But who knows that verse where Krishna talks about living beings going to the higher planets? He mentions it regarding Brahma.
Yes, Prabhu, it's 8.15. Yeah, A Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punravartinorjuna Mam Upetya tu Kaunteya Punarjanmana Vidyate.
And the meaning?
Meaning is, Prabhu, I don't remember the exact. I can see in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhu. It says that from the, I'll just see from Prabhu. And so it's like from all the planet, like so any planetary system, if you go till Brahma Loka, so we have to come back from that planet, yeah. But if we go to Krishna's Loka, then we never come back.
That birth and death, the spin of the birth and death, that will be keep continuing, and everyone will take birth and death from top to bottom loka.
Yes. Krishna is saying from the highest planet, Brahmaloka, down to the lowest, all of them are places of misery where repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode never takes birth again. So thank you. Yes, these are good verses to learn, because by learning these verses and the meaning from Bhagavad Gita, we can actually help others understand these things as well, use them. You know what they say in the post office? Use it or lose it. So we should use these verses in our preaching and helping others understand about Krishna. This is very useful. And then they'll become very strongly situated in our psyche. And because when we're preaching at someone else, it's like when you're pointing a finger at someone, you've got 3 more fingers pointing back at you. So when we're explaining things to somebody else, we're actually helping ourselves understand this. So it's really
15 minutes. कुछ करो what बस फिर मेरा पूरा चले जाएगा.
What's that, Gorangi? Okay, so any questions or comments or thoughts on what we were discussing then?
Prabhuji, so it says that the sinful desire seed can be removed only by achieving Krishna consciousness. So So when will become Krishna consciousness? When our desire seed will be removed? We are following the Krishna consciousness process now. We are chanting 16 rounds and we are following all the regulative principles. So when can we say that when this will be removed? Like how long it will take?
That depends on how we apply ourselves to this process, because there are two things required. One thing is our endeavor, and the other thing is Krishna's mercy.
Yeah.
So we should try seriously to develop our Krishna consciousness, and we should sincerely ask Krishna, please be merciful and free me from this materialistic mentality that I've developed over so many billions of births in the material world, and purify my heart from all this nonsense. So the idea being that we require to actually show Krishna that we sincerely really do want to actually achieve his mercy, and ask him that, please, my Lord, and especially Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, because they are extremely merciful. They've given us this nice process of chanting Hare Krishna. So they can actually help us very much. And also, so can the association of all the Vaishnavas, and remembering even all the previous acharyas and great Vaishnavas and trying to ask them, please help us. Because it's like if you have a father, he may be kind to you, but the grandfather is especially kind to the children. Is he not?
Mm-hmm.
So the predecessor acharyas, they're always wishing for the best. And if we request them to please help us, if we take advantage of hearing about their transcendental qualities and activities, we can try to request them to please invoke some of their mercy to help us as well. So it's actually very helpful to glorify Krishna's devotees. And in the chanting of Hare Krishna, we should know, there's a nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam which says, someone whose heart, someone who doesn't actually feel transcendental ecstasy when chanting the holy name of the Lord, that means their heart is steel framed. It's framed in steel. There's no getting at it. And particularly, it's explained that the process for chanting the holy names, we have to become aware of the offenses in chanting the holy names. Because if we're not experiencing ecstasy when we chant, that means we're still making some offenses. So therefore, studying what these offenses are and how to actually eradicate these from our chanting and our lives is very important. Because if we can chant without offense, immediately we can experience great ecstasy and love of Krishna. But it's only the offenses actually that hold us back. So the offenses generally are misunderstandings of what is Krishna's holy name and what are Krishna's devotees. Because the first offense is to blaspheme Krishna's devotees who've dedicated their lives to propagating the holy names of the Lord. And the second offense is to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. So we have to be serious enough to actually accept a spiritual master. And we have to also really try to understand what these offenses are and see that we root out any offenses in our lives that are actually holding us back. Because that way, the sooner we do that, the sooner we can make full progress. Is that all right, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna.
Any other questions or comments? I know we're spending quite a bit of time on each paragraph, but please tell me if we're not proceeding fast enough, or if we're actually getting something out of this, some understanding. Any comment?
Prabhuji, I think we are going with right pace, like looking at our intelligence and like, because we and our ignorance, like you are really going with the right pace, Prabhu, so that we can understand things. Yeah, so I think slow is good for us, Prabhu, so that we can understand this concept. These are like really quite complex concept, deep concept. So like going slowly and understanding this is like in a proper way is good idea, Prabhu. Narayan Prabhu, what do you think, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. I mean, the way you are explaining it, like that paragraph, the details mentioned in that paragraph, we understand it completely. A lot of questions and all the insights and the way you explain in different ways, right? What each sort of important sentences means and what the kind of questions you ask. So it's helping us to improve in some way. So I mean, speed is. I'm not sure if it's really slow, but it's really helpful. Yes, it's good.
Yeah. You know the story of the tortoise and the hare.
Yes.
Slow
Slow and steady
and steady
wins
wins the
the race.
race. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's good if we're reading and it's not just going in one ear and coming out the other. We should
Yeah.
be understanding what we're reading. And that applied even to Ganesh Prabhu, who was writing down the Srimad Bhagavatam for Srila Vyasadeva, because
Yeah.
Srila Vyasadeva wanted a powerful scribe who could actually write the Srimad Bhagavatam down while he was reciting it. And Ganesh told him that as long as you keep speaking, I'll keep writing, no problem. And so Vyasadeva told him, well, as long as you keep understanding what you're reading, what you're writing, then I'll keep speaking. So we need to be understanding what we're going through. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Shall we continue on to the next paragraph then, please? Who'd like to read this one?
Prabhu, shall I read?
Yeah, please.
By performing Vedic ritualistic activities, by giving money in the charity, and by undergoing austerity, one can temporarily become free from the reaction of sinful activities, but at the next moment he must again become engaged in sinful activities. For example, a person suffering from venereal diseases on account of excessive indulgence in sex life has to undergo some severe pain and medical treatment, and he is then cured by the time for the time being. But because he has not been able to remove the sex desires from his heart, he must again indulge in the same things and become a victim of the same disease. So the medical treatment may give a temporary relief from the distress of such venereal disease, but unless one is trained to understand that sex life is ab- abnorm, abnorm,
Abominable.
abominable, it is
Abominable.
okay, abominable. So it is impossible to be saved from such repeated distress. Similarly, the ritualistic performance, charity, and austerities, which are recommended in the Vedas, may temporarily stop one from acting in sinful ways. But as long as the heart is not is not clear, one will have to repeat sinful activities again and again.
Good.
Mm.
Is that all pretty clear? Okay. So, yes, this is the nature. The Vedic prescriptions are to encourage people to become free from sinful activities. But where do the Vedas lead? They lead one gradually to develop one's faith and understanding in the authority of the Vedic literatures, and gradually come to the conclusion, because, for example, there are 18 Puranas. There are 6 in the mode of ignorance to help people gradually become elevated, and there are 6 in the mode of passion to help such people become elevated. And there are 6 in the mode of goodness to help people become elevated. But then there's the Bhagavat Purana, which is the spotless Purana, which is Amalam Puranam, which is actually to help people understand the goal of all the Vedic knowledge and the Vedic experiences, which is to understand Krishna. What is that verse in Bhagavad Gita? Who knows the verse where Krishna is explaining that?
Which part, Prabhu, Krishna is explaining? Sorry, I missed that, Prabhu.
Where Krishna is explaining the goal of all Vedic knowledge and experiences.
Is it Traigunya Vishya Veda Nastre Gunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvando Nitya Satvasto Niryogachem Atmavan?
And the meaning?
So the meaning is,
I want everyone to learn the meanings of these verses.
yes, Prabhu, I
Because then
remember
you
the
can
meaning, but
explain them to others. This is really important. So please do make an effort to learn these verses and to
yes,
learn how to explain them to others. This is really, really helpful. This will
yes,
help
Prabhu.
you in so many ways.
So meaning is the Vedas deal mainly with the subjects of 3 modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these 3 modes, be free from all dualities and from all anxiety for gain and safety, and be established in the self.
Okay, so this is very nice, but actually be transcendental. So what is the point of being transcendental? Krishna explains in another Vedaischa sarve ahameva vedya. Vedantakrit Vedavid eva chaham. He says, by all the Vedas, I am what is to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I know the Veda as it is. So this is very important to understand, because some people, just like Krishna is explaining in another place, when your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery words of the Vedas, then actually you'll be able to become free from such situation and become actually transcendentally situated. Because a lot of people get caught up in Vedic ideas and Vedic instructions without understanding that the whole point of the Vedas is to become elevated in our appreciation and ultimately love and affection for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they teach us to accept the authority of the Vedas. So when someone really understands that the Vedas are to teach us the ultimate goal of life, and then one inquires, well, what is the ultimate goal? Is it to become from the mode of ignorance to the mode of passion? Or is it to become from the mode of passion to the mode of goodness? Or is it from the mode of goodness and become elevated to the heavenly planets? Actually, no. Krishna is saying, Brahma Bhuvana Loka. From the highest planet down to the lowest, all are places of miseries, but one who attains to my abode never takes birth again. So the whole Vedic instruction is meant to ultimately lead us to Krishna. That's the idea. Okay. So anyway, these ideas, ritualistic performances, charity and austerity, they're recommended in the Vedas, and they temporarily stop one from acting in sinful ways. But what is the ultimate goal? What is the real activity? Not simply sinful activity or even pious activity, but it's actually bhakti, our constitutional activity, which is loving service to Krishna. So we have to raise the consciousness from the bodily concept of life and the intellectual concept of life to the real concept of life, that Krishna, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I am your eternal servant. Please engage me in your loving service. Is that okay?
yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay. And it's a fact that even after doing all those Vedic instructions, then people again go back into their sinful lives. That's what happens. We're bound up by this material nature. and we're accepting a particular nature in each life, which can change gradually according to our association with the three modes. But the point is, we're all forced to act according to our nature. So therefore, purifying our nature is really helpful. And that begins with purifying the heart, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments, questions, thoughts on this? Because I know sometimes you've been asking really good questions on this.
So, Prabhu, the goal of the Veda is to make the gradual progress, yeah, gradual development of consciousness, yeah, and so that, because if someone is very impure, then we can't directly teach him Krishna consciousness. So, is that it? That the goal is to purify him, yeah, to bring him to some level, and then from there he can, yeah. I mean, why Veda was on the very first hand given, actually? Why not, because it's all like fruitive thing, like it's bribery to demigods, isn't it? Like, if you do this thing, you will get this benefit. If you do this, you will get this benefit. That's what the Vedas is teaching, isn't it? Telling us. So it's very misguiding, isn't it? Who has not got perfect knowledge, is misguiding to him that.
Well, that's exactly what Narada Muni told Vyasadeva. He said, you've actually encouraged people to enjoy in the name of religion. And he said, this is verily condemned. Whoa, he uses the word jugupsitam, verily condemned. So he said, now you should actually teach them the real goal. So the four Vedas are there. They're given by the Supreme Lord to Brahma and passed on in that way. So the living entities who've somehow or other desired to take birth in the material world can fulfill their desires in a legitimate way and be elevated and not dragged down to a lower status of life, and gradually make progress and have the full experience of the material world and fulfill their desires, but at the same time recognizing the authority of the Supreme Lord, which is represented by the Vedic instruction. So if you accept a law, then ultimately you're accepting the authority of the lawmaker. Yes? So in the same way, if we accept the Vedic instruction, gradually we'll come to understand, well, what does the lawmaker actually want from me? What's the point of getting me to live by these laws? And also, when we come to our senses and start asking the questions, well, I'm obeying these laws, or I'm not obeying the laws, but why am I suffering in this world? When someone actually asks this question, then their spiritual life can begin properly. Because generally, in this world, everyone's come here to enjoy. Is it not? Is there anyone who doesn't want to enjoy life? Every living being in every species of life, they would desire happiness. They just haven't the clue where to look for it. And so if one wants to enjoy, for example, like a cat and sleep all day, Krishna gives that facility. You can have that particular body and you can fulfill your desires. But in the human form of life, we're expected to actually make inquiries using our intelligence and see what's going on around us. And in human society that is actually guided by Vedic knowledge, as Krishna explains in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, he said he instructed this Vedic knowledge to Vivasvan, the sun god, some 120 million years prior to the second speaking of Bhagavad Gita. And Vivasvan instructed it to Manu and Manu instructed it to Ikshaku, and the saintly kings all understood it in that way. And the saintly kings, their duty was to make sure that this knowledge was understood by the people of the world, all their subjects. But where are the saintly kings now? Look at all the politicians of the world. Do they understand anything about spiritual life? And so how can they guide people? So as the nature of this world is it gradually goes through these 4 seasonal changes, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwarpa Yuga, Kali Yuga, it gradually winds up, just like now we're still, well, we're supposed to be coming into spring, if you believe that. Anyway, from summer, autumn, winter, and spring. So the nature of this world is it's constantly churning to give people ultimately full experience of this material world, so that when we actually desire, I don't want to keep suffering anymore. I want to find out my real purpose in life. I want to find out my real destination in life. Then Krishna arranges, okay, meet up with a devotee. And that way, when we become materially fatigued enough to actually take the instructions of a devotee seriously, everything can get turned around and we can begin on the path back home, back to Krishna. So the Vedic knowledge is there for us to live happily and peacefully in this world while fulfilling our desires. But that's not the point. The point is to gradually come to understand who is behind the authority of the Vedas, and not just what we want, but what does he want? And that's where the spiritual master comes in, because the Vedas give us facility for fulfilling our desires, what we want, in a legitimate way, so we don't become sinfully entangled in the results. But the spiritual master is different, because he's not giving us the facility to just give us what we think we want. He's trying to help us understand what Krishna wants from us and take us on the path of realization that our real business of life is not to try fulfilling our ever-changing and never-ending material desires, but come to the point of understanding that real happiness begins when we engage in fulfilling Krishna's desire. And that's the whole point of the Vedas. Therefore, Krishna says, Vedaischa sarve ahameva vedya. By all the Vedas, I am what is to be known. But it's a gradual process. But there's a quick process. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Hare,
Rama,
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We get the association of the Lord's pure devotees, the representatives of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, and actually get the opportunity to engage immediately in service to Krishna. So as Prabhupada has many times given that example, you want to get to the top of the Empire State Building, there's the staircase. How about the lift? How about the elevator? So the process of spiritual life, by this process of chanting Hare Krishna, one immediately becomes connected to Krishna. As simple as that. By hearing the messages of the spiritual master, by studying these literatures and trying to understand what Krishna's messages are, which are being represented through these books, we immediately get connected to Krishna, and Krishna sees this devotee is making a little progress in trying to understand me. Let me help him more and more. Because he's in our hearts, and he's very eager that we return home. Much more eager than we are. That's the problem. So how to awaken that eagerness and enthusiasm for going and understanding for going back to Krishna. This is why we need to hear from the Lord's devotees and try to understand these transcendental messages, because these literatures are nothing but the messages of Krishna being relayed and gradually explained to us by Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas, like Rupa Goswami, who's written this nice book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which, because we don't read Sanskrit and we don't understand these things, Prabhupada has very kindly presented in a language we can understand, in English, but it's the same messages from Krishna that Lord Chaitanya explained to Rupa Goswami. Let's make it simple. Nectar of devotion. Hare Krishna. All right, I think I've spoken enough. Any comments, questions, thoughts, criticisms, corrections, punches on the nose? How dare you tell me to surrender to Krishna? Is it all right?
Yes, bro. Making perfect sense to us, bro. Thank you.
Okay. You okay with that, Prashant and Narayan Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. This is very helpful, and yeah, I mean, we are still discussing very first point, but there's so much to sort of reflect back on this one, and you gave us a lot of insights as well. So yeah, like there are 6 points, and I think you initially mentioned, right, it's like an ocean of melodies. So this is how it is. Like 1 point, I can't imagine we discussing just first out of 6, just first one, and there are so many things to sort of understand and reflect upon, and it's related to our day-to-day lives as well, right? I mean, all these things, there's so much to sort of take and improve on. So yes, thank you so much.
So yes, I mean, when you go to school and are trying to learn mathematics, do you jump into calculus straight away? You have to
No.
build up your mathematical understanding and experience and appreciation. Otherwise, calculus will be, yeah, what is
Okay.
that? Yeah. So, yeah. But this is actually simple mathematics. But if we build up a solid understanding, then we can actually develop that and become more and more clear as we go through it. And then it becomes more and more obvious and easy to appreciate the meaning of these things.
Yes, true.
Okay, all right. Let's continue a little bit more.
Yes, bro.
Who wants to read this bit?
Let me read, bro. Can I read, bro?
Yeah.
Another example is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam of the elephant who enters into a lake and takes a bath very seriously, cleansing his body thoroughly. Then, as soon as he comes onto shore, he again takes some dust from the earth and throws it over his body. Similarly, a person who is not trained in Krishna consciousness cannot become completely free from the desire for sinful activities. Neither the yoga process, nor philosophical speculations, nor fruitive activity can save one from the seeds of sinful desires. Only by being engaged in devotional service can this be done.
So anybody have experience of that, watching an elephant going and taking a bath and then coming out and throwing the dirt all over him? So, but
Yeah,
you
I have
have
not
experience.
seen it, Prabhu, but yeah, I have heard it many times. I have not seen it personally. Yeah.
Okay. So these three things Prabhupada mentions, neither the yoga process, and the yoga processes are all explained in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna personally, nor philosophical speculations trying to understand the impersonal nature of the absolute truth, or fruitive activities, trying to enjoy the fruits of our work, none of these can actually save us from the seeds of sinful desires. And therefore it's being explained only by being engaged in devotional service can this be done. And Hare Krishna, Amit Prabhu, you have joined us. Welcome.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna. You're there in the dark somewhere. Are you in your car again?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm in the car, yeah.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So we've been reading this point about, would anybody like to briefly explain to Amit Prabhu what we've been discussing, please?
Prabhuji, I was there for like most part of it. I haven't joined like in the last 5 minutes. I've been there all along.
Okay. All right. So do you have any questions or comments or thoughts on this, Prabhu?
Prabhuji, I don't have any comments, but yeah, it's the Nectar of Devotion is for our benefit. So I think we should make the most out of it. And yeah, no, it's really good to be this nectar being imparted to us by someone like you. So we really appreciate that. And yeah, I think the last paragraph, it's just the devotional service is what we can implement in our lives. So to be on the Krishna consciousness path, and that's the only way forward. I think that's all from me. I think that's in a nutshell, it's all about the regulative principles that we have to follow. Keep following that, and sooner or later we'll be in more kind of in Krishna consciousness and in more bhakti to say. Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. That's it from me.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, right, well, let's read on a little bit more then, please.
Yeah.
Anybody else, any questions? Yeah. Or we go on to continue the next paragraph. So, Amit Prabhu, would you like to read this next paragraph for us then, please?
Yes, Prabhuji, of course. There is another evidence in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 22nd chapter, 37th verse, wherein Sanatan Kumara says, "My dear king, the false ego of a human being is so strong that it keeps him in material existence as if tied up by a strong rope. Only the devotees can cut off the knot of this strong rope very easily by engaging themselves in Krishna consciousness. Others who are not in Krishna consciousness but are trying to become great mystics or great ritual performers cannot advance like the devotees. Therefore, it is the duty of everyone to engage himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness in order to be freed from the tight knot of false ego and engagement in material activities."
Anybody got any thoughts or comments who'd like to explain some of this?
Yes, Prabhuji, if I'm allowed to, it's again the same, the Krishna consciousness is about, that's how we can achieve, a devotional service. That's the way forward. It's in all of it, we are not like yogis or tapasvis or sannyasis, or we don't have even the caliber of, like someone like you or, someone like Srila Prabhupada. We are just like normal, common people. But to keep it simple for all of us, it's like, we have this Hare Krishna consciousness, and we must carry on with this. And obviously, the great personalities like Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Srila Prabhupada, and the great acharyas and the great yogis and sannyasis of Sanatan, they are there as a beacons of wisdom, beacons of values, and beacons of how to live a life. And we only can derive inspiration from them by reading scriptures, by reading their pastimes. But because we are, I don't know how many births we have taken previously, and we still are in this material world. So we have to tread very carefully, don't in a way that we are not strengthening our bond with the material world, but instead we should be moving towards the Krishna consciousness and taking a path which is gonna get us out of this life and death cycle. So yeah, that's my take on the whole thing, all of this Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment on this? Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Not comment, but just trying to link. So what we read, as Amitro very nicely explained. So yeah, that's what this paragraph is explaining. And so Prabhu, we discuss about seeds of sinful desire. So can we call like this false ego, lust, or anger? So all these are the seeds which we want to sort of destroy, or is it something different? Like, so we sort of discussing false ego in this very paragraph now. But so far it was like, okay, we have seeds of sinful desires and how to sort of come out of it, and whole explanation was about that. So false ego, as well as along with that lust, and along with that anger and other things. So are these the seeds which we are trying to sort of eradicate, or sort of get free from, so that we get the pure love?
Well, we need to understand what is meant here by false ego. So ego actually means self, and false ego means our misconception of what our self actually is, a false conception about what we are. So what happens is the point is being made that this situation is that we're tied up by a tight knot. And you can see, hold on one second. I'll call you back later. I'm just in the middle of a discussion online. Okay. Hare Krishna. Sorry, just a call came through. I thought I'd rejected it, but that's technology for you. Tied up by, as if tied up by a strong rope. So when you're tied up by a strong rope, how do you get free from that? And this strong rope is there that we're engaging in material activities meant for our pleasure again and again and again and again. So this is the tight knot, which is recommended that we have to get free of that. This Chindanti Covidastasya. You'll notice so many places examples are given from Srimad Bhagavatam. So Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are explaining the science of God. Now, because we're thinking that I'm this body, or I'm the enjoyer of this world, this false ego, this false sense of ourselves, what we are, we're engaging in material activities. So how is it the devotees get free? Because by practical experience, which is not possible by theoretical ideas, they're actually appreciating not just aham brahmasmi, that I'm not this body, but they're actually appreciating beyond I'm not this body to I'm the eternal servant of Krishna. And I'm engaging in the service of Krishna and getting the taste and the practical, not just jnana, but vijnana, realization that actually this is the life of transcendental knowledge. That actually I'm meant to be engaged in Krishna's service. They're getting the taste by trying to be engaged in Krishna's service. Otherwise, who can cut off this knot of false identification with the temporary body? It's not possible. But by practical realization of being engaged in Krishna's service, we get the taste and the experience that, yes, actually this is my real life. I'm connected to Krishna. So, but those who are trying to become great mystics, they're actually trying to fulfill their desires for material enjoyment in this material world. Or if someone's a great ritual performer, they want to become famous and well known for their great ritualistic performances. Or such people, they can't advance in practical realization of their relationship with Krishna and their real understanding of who they are. But only a devotee can actually advance because they're getting practical realization from experience in serving Krishna. So the false ego is the misconception. So we're trying to actually dissolve the false ego and become conscious of our real ego, our real self, that we're actually eternal spirit souls, servants. And the desires, we're not trying to get rid of desires, but we're trying to spiritualize our desires, dovetail our desires. Like, for example, we desire to eat nice palatable foods. Yes, everyone generally desires to eat nice palatable foods. Would you agree? So therefore we make these nice dishes in consciousness of Krishna. Let me cook for you and let me offer these to you. And then after you've enjoyed them, let me take the remnants of these nice foodstuffs. So in this way, we dovetail our desires. We like to sing, we like to dance, we like to keep nice company. So let's sing and dance for Krishna. Let's keep the company of devotees. Let's actually really enjoy life in this way, but not in the spirit that we're the enjoyers, but the spirit that Krishna is the enjoyer. You are the enjoyer, my dear Lord. And I want to try to please you. I want to try and do something for you. So it's this whole idea of doing something for someone else, not with a view to making me happy, but with a view to making that person happy. Because everyone is selfish. Everyone in this world is thinking, how can I be happy? And when we have even a relationship with a partner, again, in the end, we're seeking our own pleasure. But actually, the real pleasure is when we work in cooperation with Krishna and trying to please Krishna, because that brings about the real taste of happiness, not the temporary gratification of the senses and the mind, but actually the satisfaction of Krishna, which means automatically we can taste spiritual pleasure. We can taste the happiness that comes from serving Krishna and pleasing Krishna. So this is what we're trying to do. And in this way, we cut through the binding knot. It's described in the Bhagavatam as like a labyrinthine knot. Have you ever experienced getting a ball of string and it's all tangled up and how to actually untangle it? It's like a labyrinth. Trying to get out of a labyrinth is, when you can't see your way out of it, it's really difficult. But this labyrinthine knot of entanglement in material existence, one can cut through this by remembering Krishna. So this is the idea. Does that answer your question, Narayan Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Hare Krishna.
Does it make some sense?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Okay. All right. So good. Any other points anyone would like to make? Please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prashant Prabhu.
Prabhuji, we are talking about false ego. I wanted to ask related to that. That day, like last week, in our Bhakti Viksha class as well, Rupesh Prabhu mentioned like when we do something better, like something for some other person, we tend to remember it, like I did this good thing for that guy, like I helped him, and we tend to remember this thing always, but we forget like whatever good things someone else has done for us. But whatever one good thing we have done for anyone, we literally remember it lifelong. Like, I have done this thing for this guy, and we expect something in return, or why this guy is not treating me with respect or not. Is this a thing of false ego? Like, and we know it is bad, because when Rupesh Prabhu mentioned this, I like, yeah, this is a small thing, but we have this habit. But we know it is bad, but when we try to, like, we should not think like that. We make our minds like that, but still this thought is somewhere in our subconscious, and we don't tend to forget it. Is it a thing of false ego? Like, is it, or how it can go?
Yeah, well, the false ego means becoming, or staying rather, absorbed in the temporary false concept of life that this is me. Now, the real ego is, and let's give a nice example, when instead of thinking what I have done for others, let's think about what Krishna has done for us. My dear Krishna, you have provided me with this body, you've provided me with a nice wife, with a house, with a car, all the food and water and nourishment I've had throughout my whole life, all the facilities of life you've given me at every stage. And actually, part of the process is becoming grateful to Krishna. This is the platform of real ego, actually recognizing that Krishna, you are so kind, you are maintaining me, you're providing everything for me, and you're actually the enjoyer. But still, even though I'm such a rascal in this material world, wanting this and wanting that and wanting the other, you're still so kindly providing all the necessities of life. Please help me remember to try to do things to please you, because you've been accompanying me through every step of the material world. How about that? And you caring for me and giving all the facility, giving me what I want. Please let me become grateful to you and try to do things now to please you. How about that?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, we. It's a good idea. Like, we try to think like that. But yeah, my point was, like, even if we know, like, but still this thought, like, we tend to not forget. Sometimes it comes. Yeah, when we see that person, or whatever we hear about some persons to whom we have helped in past, the thought automatically, the first thought comes in mind is this only. Oh, I've did this person forgetted me, now I've helped him when he was in trouble. Things like that.
Okay, so how about looking at things from a different perspective? How about looking, Krishna has engaged me in trying to do something for this other person. This other person is also a part of Krishna. And so many people have done so many things for me in my life. My parents have given me this body and brought me up in this life. My, you know, my teachers have taught me so many things. My friends have given me encouragement and so many things. And how grateful am I to them? But they're all representatives of Krishna, because through Krishna, these agents are providing so many things for our welfare. And sometimes we may get a punch on the nose from someone who is not our immediate well-wisher, but that's also, the devotee understands that's also coming from Krishna. And that's to help me remember that I'm just getting a token of my own past sinful deeds. So when we start to change the consciousness from its being all about me, and change the consciousness to it's actually all about Krishna, because the air that we breathe is so kindly becoming provided by Krishna, and Krishna has sent this person to kindly do something for me. And if I've been engaged in doing something for someone else, that's fine. So many people have done things for me. If someone's not grateful, for what I've done for them, what I'm mistakenly thinking is I have done for them. And let's take another look at it. What is this I? This body is a bag of stool and bones and pus and blood and urine and mucus, stool, all sorts of bad smells, and teeth and eyeballs and gristle and muscle and veins and urine and so many things. So if somebody even insults this body, it's completely justified because it's not a very good thing. So why should I be unhappy if someone insults this bag of so many abominable items? Actually, it's true. And it's a good lesson for me that, yes, this is a disgraceful situation that I've landed myself in. And it's a good lesson from Krishna. So if someone's not grateful for something I've done for them, maybe we should look, should I be grateful for all the people who've done things for me? And should that be a lesson for me that, yes, even if others are not grateful, let me become a grateful person for all the gifts that Krishna and so many others have done for me, and let me try to help them. And how can we best help them? Because we will see that people are in all different situations in life, but how to actually help them come to some sort of consciousness of Krishna. So charity begins at home. How can I develop my consciousness of Krishna? And how can I become compassionate for someone else who's not feeling grateful for the gifts that they've received from me or from anyone else? Let me become grateful for the gifts that have been received. And if people haven't got that sensibility, then we should feel sorry for them, that they haven't developed to that point of being grateful to others. But we can also examine our own selves. We can be introspective. Am I actually grateful for all the gifts? Can I remember all the gifts that Krishna has given me? And those have come through so many agencies. Am I grateful to all those agencies because they've been provided ultimately by Krishna? So Krishna consciousness really starts with A, becoming grateful, and B, also learning to forgive others. Because if we can't forgive others, how can we expect forgiveness for our own mistaken understandings of life ourselves? You know the Christian prayer, the Lord's Prayer? You're familiar with that? It's actually a very interesting prayer because in so many ways, one of the lines in there is, please forgive us our trespasses as we forgive them who trespass against us. So if we're not prepared to forgive others for their misdemeanors or bad attitudes towards us, how can we expect Krishna to forgive us for our bad attitudes towards others? Do you see the point? Is that making some sense, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, yes.
It's a matter of looking at it with reality.
Yes,
and
Prabhu.
looking at it in terms of our relationship with Krishna. Any comments or thoughts or questions on this? Don't all scream at once. Okay. All right. So anyway, it's now 8:20. Should we read one more paragraph or should we call it a halt for the night?
Prabhuji, I think we can read next week, Prabhu, next paragraph, Prabhu.
Okay. All right. And I wanted to mention one thing because Amit Prabhu called me up yesterday and mentioned that you're all going to or some of you at least, are going to Inishrath in Northern Ireland.